Joined by RightSense CEO, Sangam Eswara.
We can pull it forward. All right. Actually, yeah. Let me do this.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. I'm back. Last time for today, though. So, first of all, thank you so much, Sangam. He's the CEO of a company called RightSense. And just a quick story about RightSense and what they do with SingleStore. So we were at SingleStore now when I think I met you and we started to talk.
Yeah.
But in general, we were talking last year a lot about the demos as well as use cases, but there was nothing any substantial. Like people were talking about information retrieval or even chatbot, but there was nobody who had an application that was in production. So that's when Sangam reached out and he said, hey, by the way, we use SingleStore and we use it across our different stores, and we have built something called data stories, and that really tickled my curiosity. I said, okay, let's sit down, and we had a long conversation, and then I requested Sangam to say, okay, can you come to our sales kickoff and just do a demo? And he was gracious enough to also give us access to the demo as well, which truly shows what a production app looks like for generative AI with SingleStore, which really talks to its benefits, which is analytics as well as RAG. So for the audience, Sangam, could you tell a little bit about what is RightSense and what is the product, who uses it?
Yeah. RightSense is basically an application delivery platform, if you will, right? So the idea is, if you look at like many companies, like you guys are talking to all the big companies and things like that, they have developers sometimes, right? The in-house technical resources and things like that. That is about 40% of the overall GDP in the US. About 60% of the GDP in the US, they don't have in-house resources to take advantage of all the new technologies which are coming, for example, right? When you go and talk about LLM or generative AI, it will go over their head, mostly, right? So basically, they're kind of stuck. They read about all this ChatGPT, this, that, and all. They're very curious. How could it benefit me, right? So that is probably what we are delivering. I will show it to you in a second. So the idea is we can actually automate end-to-end. That is where SingleStore is coming into the picture. We have automated the data ingestion pipelines. And from there, we automatically generate the vector database for a lot of complex product definitions and that kind of a thing. So immediately, we enable conversation. We'll show you in a second. Give me 1 second. Yeah. Our journey started even before GenAI. About a couple of years back, we started with AWS, like most of these startup companies, right? So we said, okay, we wanted a column database. That was our main goal at that point. We used the Redshift. That was the one thing which is available on the AWS. We started with a small number of stores, about 30 stores, right? When we wanted to increase to 100 stores, it didn't scale for us. It was the problem. We couldn't get the real-time performance. Data ingestion was competing with the front-end performance, all this kind of a thing. Then we said, okay, let us actually build our own database using MariaDB column store. Then again, we got into the issue of how do we manage it, how do we support it. Occasionally, it will fail. All these kind of things was causing a lot of issues for us. Even scaling was a problem because automatic clustering, cluster scaling was not there. You had to go and increase the cluster size, a lot of those things, right? Right around that time, we were trying to do something with SingleStore as a developer. Sarang came into the picture. So Sarang was, I think, was new to the SingleStore at that point. So we started saying, okay, let me migrate our data, right? So initially, we had some issues with SingleStore. For example, indexing and other things for the right kind of performance was not working. Sarang and I think Ben, if I'm right, they helped us a lot. Within a couple of days, we got the linear scaling. We got another 200 stores into the pipeline. Everything was seamless. So we built first 2 years mostly the BI application. Quickly, I will show them. From there, about a year back, when I started talking to Madhukar, right? So how can we bring the benefits of GenAI for the people, not only the people who don't have the IT, and also they don't have time. If you really look at a typical environment, mostly 1 or 2 people are data savvy, right, in an organization, maybe like at the top level, maybe they have an analyst and things like that. But if you want to democratize AI and generative AI, you need to make it so simple, right? User interface, user interaction is the one which actually brings the productivity level, and the benefit what Raj was saying in the morning, where is the $12 trillion or $20 trillion productivity gains were coming, unless you bring all the people the benefits of the data, right? If you really look at an enterprise, typically less than 10% people are data savvy, right? You want to make 100% of the people data savvy, then only the benefit of all these technologies will be helpful for the organization. So that is our goal.
You mentioned about stores. Maybe explain to the audience, how do stores use that application? What is that application for?
Okay. So basically, right now, like when I mentioned the stores, we are talking about these convenience store chains in the US, right? So typically, they have multiple businesses within the convenience store. One is the store, other one is the fuel operation, other one is the car wash. They also have the loyalty, reward programs, and things like that, right? So what we have done is we have defined our 80 key metrics so that they can manage them in the real time. Like it could be sales, profit, margin, inventory shortage, promotion, effectiveness, all these kind of things, right? So we built dashboards around these KPIs. Then we still found that people were not using them as much in terms of the usage of the application, right? How do we increase the usage of the application within the organization? First thing we built was this, what we call the data stories. Suppose if you are a manager or somebody who is managing a category or something like that, how can you get the benefit of the data quickly? You don't have to do anything special. So automatically we generate the stories enabled by Gen AI and LLMs and all that kind of a thing. It tells them what went right or wrong with a particular KPI, what action you should take, actionable insights if you will. It is delivered to you through the portal, depending on the frequency you want, every day, every week, things like that. That is the first application we developed in the Gen AI. We'll show you the glimpses of that. And then we thought that even that is complex. Why should even people read the story and things like that? Why can't you simply ask the application and give you the answer, right? Like we say, think of, I am just like Madhukar and Raj. I spent a lot of time in Silicon Valley for the last 40 years. So when I moved to the Valley, there is a company called HP, which was kind of the grandfather of all the companies in the Valley, right? So they had a management principle called MBWA. You might be familiar with that, management by walking around, right? How does a manager get what is going on in his company, right? Like basically they'll go cube to cube and say, hey, how it is doing? Are you on time? All these kind of questions, right? Same thing in the retail, right? How is this product moving? How is this moving? And things like that, right? So they can simply ask the same question in the generative AI and they get the answer. So that is the application we have developed, right?
So I think that's very interesting from the perspective of asking the data in plain English in terms of, so if I understand correctly, then let's say if I'm a store manager, every morning I wake up and instead of going and running reports, the AI has generated insights about sales and recommendations
all those things,
that I can look at on a day-to-day basis, and I can do something with it. Like if I find out, Brazilian bread has been sold off in two corners away, like do people actually use it to
exactly.
affect their action?
One of the main issues they have is the inventory shortfalls or inventory mismanagement, right? For example, they can send to a person who is actually on the store, hey, right from the Gen AI application, send an email to that person, he can take an action at this point.
Awesome. We'd love to see a demo. I know we have 5 minutes, so I believe you have a demo to show how exactly this works.
Sure, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, thanks, Madhu.
Yeah, of course. Go ahead and show the demo.
I appreciate all the opportunity and giving this time. Okay. I just have 2 slides just to set the proper context for the application. Then we'll directly go into the applications. So basically, what we are delivering is the operational excellence for any KPI, for that matter. Right now, our customers are in retail, but platform is not limited to that, right? We are KPI-centric. So any KPI or related KPIs can be made conversational, data stories, all that kind of a thing. So that is the basis of the platform. So as Madhukar mentioned, we are using the data SingleStore for 3 purposes. One is for the automation of the data pipelines. Second one is the vector database for building the context for the conversational stories as well as conversations. We also deliver the front-end applications through SingleStore. So those are the 3 basic areas we are using the SingleStore. So we are fairly knowledgeable about SingleStore as a whole, right? So we are a platform like you guys, but one level above that, right? So it's not limited to any particular vertical, although we are delivering application in the right. So I will skip this. Basically, all these issues, what you guys talked about it. So the main thing here, probably I want to point to you is, so we are basically real-time decision making with actionable insights. That is our overall mission and value, if you will, right? So general consensus is 25% efficiency you can gain by applying the AI techniques, right? It happens in multiple ways. First thing is many organizations have reasonable size organizations have 1 to 2 people just helping people to generate reports and things like that. That can be completely made obsolete. And I would also think in the coming years, this notion of reports, dashboards, and things like that become obsolete because you can simply ask question and get the answer. Why do you need anything more, right? Particularly if you are driving, you can utilize your time to say, how did my sales do, or is the employee performing better? Any of that, you can simply have a conversation with the application, right? So this is one of the MIT Tech report which has come very recently, which says you can get almost 25% of productivity gain by just deploying on your existing KPIs. Okay. So another thing which you can probably want to pay attention is you can also, in the retail environment, they expect that they can actually get sales boost of about 18% by deploying the AI use cases. So those two that is where all the gains are going to come. If you look at the US retail market is several trillion, right? If you take the small percentage, it's a very big gain for them. Yeah, so that's all I will say. I will basically just get into the use cases. I'm going to show you two demos. This is basically our sales application, if you will, right? We wanted to show to our customers, hey, what are the benefits of the generative AI, right? Do you have some data we can show you in real time, how it works in our platform, right? So what we did is, there are 2 scenarios. One is actually the real-time data is coming. I will not show that. I will show the actual deployed use case. The second use case I'm going to show you is if you have any spreadsheet, for example, how can we make that conversational, essentially, right? So what I'm doing is, so I picked that one, basically. So you can bring any Excel spreadsheet you have. What I will do is I have downloaded this from internet somewhere. So I will upload that, right? So now what our system is doing is, in real time, it is actually analyzing this Excel file, find out what is that actually it can make that conversation, right? It identifies the key KPIs, what are the data dictionary. We are using the LLM to do all that also. So what it is doing? What it is doing is analyzing it and what potential candidates are for the conversation, what KPIs are possible, all that kind of things. So it did that. So then now it also shows you, okay, what is the data dictionary for this Excel, right? So what dimensions are there within that data, what KPIs are possible. So we also know that LLMs can make a mistake. So we give the ability to make editing of that KPI, for example. So, and also if you want to change any of the formulas you want to do, say for example, calculating profit or loss or anything like that, you can do it. So then once you are done, you simply can save this. Once you did that, now like for example, we enable this chart for this application. So you can simply, I'm not going to type this, it saves the old question. So you are actually asking the question about this data, all right?
So basically, it just did RAG as well as analytics
Yeah.
in single shot.
Yeah. All that it does in single shot, as Madhu was saying. In addition to that, it also knows this is a time series data. I want to generate a chart for that, all that kind of things. It does it, right? So when you see it in the actual deployed application, you will appreciate that, why that is important. It also tells you what other follow-up question you probably will be able to ask. It remembers your old questions so that you don't have to type all these kind of things. So it's all small things, but actually save time, quite a bit of time in the real environment, right? So what I will do next is, this is a deployed application. It is live in about 130 stores across California. Data is coming every 15 minutes from each individual POS in these stores, right? So this data gets updated. You can filter all these dashboards we built. I'm not going to go through all that. We have built about 80 plus KPIs, right? The main thing is, how do we make those KPIs actionable? How can LLMs and GenAI vector databases can help in that process, right? So first thing I'll show you is the data stories. What we mean by data stories, as I said, like if anybody who is a manager, CEO, CFO, whoever it is interested in few KPIs, maybe 20, 30, 40, whatever it is, right? So he wants to know what is happening with them, right? So we call this a top page. Essentially, think of it as your portal or a news page or a newspaper page. It will tell you for most important KPIs you are monitoring. Is there any issue, or is there something you should pay attention, right? So this is the headline part of it. So the stories are actually grouped together based on the topic and things like that, like for example, loyalty performance, inventory, sales variation, margin, all these kind of things, right? So you can go and search the old stories and all that kind of thing is there. This is built using LLM model, vector database is part of this, and we generate the narrative, right, and all these kind of things. So now, say for example, say you want to, I'll go take a complex story, so that way you will appreciate the loyalty, right? See, your loyalty, what we are doing is, most of you guys are familiar, a model called RFM, which is basically recency, frequency, and monetary value of a customer, right? So how customers are migrating from best customers to maybe not so good customers, or not so good customers to best customers, that kind of thing. We generate the model. These are all the loyalty stories. When you get into the detail of the story, it's giving some headlines and all that kind of things. You can ignore it. So,
and this is all generated by the LLM,
yeah,
but using the data in SingleStore.
Correct. Yeah, it is all generated automatically. Yeah, right, based on configurations. Yeah.
Awesome.
So it tells you, it generates the narrative, right? It also shows if it is good, it shows in the green color, and all that markup is there, right? It say, for example, it said, okay, some of your best customers are no longer best customers, and all that kind of thing. As you guys know, even the newspaper or whatever, after some time you get bored reading all these things every day or every week, right? We tell you, hey, how much time you have to spend reading this story, right? So we know that, okay, people don't want to spend all that time. We automatically generate the table of content for the story, right? If you want to go there, you can simply say, okay, customer mode. So you go there, right? So just like in the newspaper, 2 articles you're interested, you click on that, you go there and take whatever action. So you can do that. So we also did, before we built our complete chart application, we integrated chart directly into the story, right? You can simply ask question in the thing. So in real time, it uses the vector database and creates the story context, right? So then take that contextual data and create the automated prompt engineering and sends to the OpenAI APIs and come up with the summarization.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Sangam.
Yeah. So there's one more thing I want to show. That's it. That is a simple application again. This is our deployed chart application in the this 130 store environment, right? Here you can simply go, okay, So you didn't have to specify date or anything. Like even if you leave it, it can identify default time with that kind of things. All those intelligence is there. So beyond that, it's hey, you ask for the sales. I want to know probably more or less every time customer wants to know between loyalty sales and non-loyalty sales. Automatically